and I wanted to show you something really cool. My boyfriend and I like to shop at secondhand stores because, well, for a lot of reasons, but one of the reasons is because I like the old-fashioned way of doing things. So if I find an old-fashioned contraption, I'm on it. And one of them I found last night that when I went to look on YouTube for videos, I only found a couple videos about it. So here's my chance to show you how it works. Now, if you're making jelly, there are several ways to make it, of course, and one of the ways is using apple peels and cores, right? I know, bet you didn't think of it, because I didn't either. So here in my roaster oven, excuse me while I do something with my lid here. So here in my roaster oven, you can see, let's turn some light on here if we can. This is all the apple peels. Well, not all. I did about, well, I'm still not done yet, about 3 bushels of apples. And this is probably only about a half a bushel of apples. It's been cooking for many, many hours. All you do is you take your peels and your cores and throw them in. I mean, you don't have to use a roaster oven. You can use something smaller. And some water, enough to just barely cover the peels and cores, and you let it cook. So this is what it looks like. Now, my contraption I wanted to show you is right here. Now you're probably going, okay, that kind of looks like the Tin Man's hat. But this is how it works. All you do is you take a spoonful, put it in there, and if you just gently press, it'll start straining. I do a few spoonfuls. I have a pretty big spoon here. There. And as you can see, let's come down here. You can see it's straining. Now, the sign on this particular strainer called it an antique. I looked up, or I tried to look up the numbers on it. Couldn't really find much, but I'm guessing it's this particular one is probably 30 years old. However, or more. However, they still make them. But if you were to look up a brand new version of these things, they're $50 or more. Believe it or not. It's not much here. Now this one also comes with this little goodie right here. You gently press. You don't want to press too hard, because the harder you press, the cloudier your juice is going to be. So if you just gently press on it a little bit, see, more is coming out. It's not just coming out the bottom, it's coming out the sides too. We're getting a lot of juice doing it this way. Now, there are so many different ways to strain these peels and cores. I'll show you another way in a minute. But I happen to like this a lot. I mean, a lot. I did do the cheesecloth. I have some cheese. Oh, I'm just dropping stuff. I have some cheesecloth right here. This stuff here. Now, it's okay. You know, you double it a little bit. and put it in a colander. But the problem with that is it bunches up. And so then you have cheesecloth falling into your, whatever you're trying to strain. And it gets all mixed up, and it's just not, I don't know. I think it's more of a pain. This thing here, there's no bunching up. Is it a little time consuming? Yeah, but anything that you're going to do that with canning or anything that you're going to need this for, it's time consuming. So, if you want to do it good, you're going to have the time. That's the way I look at it. My grandma Bert and my sister Vicky both did a lot of canning, and I would sit there and watch them. My grandma Bert taught me how to do applesauce. So I've been doing applesauce for, I don't know, 30 years maybe. See, it's really coming out. Like I said, you don't want to press too hard because you don't want the pulp. You might get a little bit. A little bit's not going to hurt. But, I mean, if you really push down on it, then you're going to get more pulp. Now, there are other things to use this with, like, for example, mashed potatoes. Okay? Take your hot potatoes, with the skin still on, or I guess you can do it without the skin on too. Put it in here, and that's when you can do a lot of squeezing, pushing hard, and then it comes out the sides, right? Same thing with apples for applesauce, and then you can have smooth applesauce. We happen to like chunky applesauce, so I haven't had smooth applesauce in years. I'm pressing, but I'm not pressing really hard. Grapes for grape jelly. There's all kinds of things that you could use this with. This is an old-fashioned strainer, colander, whatever you want to call it. Used eons ago, and probably still used by the Amish who can't use electricity. But I really like the old-fashioned contraptions, the old-fashioned ways of doing things. Why? I don't know. I'm only 48, some might call that old. But, I guess in cooking terms or whatever, I'm not that old, but I did learn a lot of old-fashioned way of doing things from my grandma and even my sister. And I remember my grandma had one of these when I was little. But see, that's the other thing that see, you got your peels and cores in there. I'll stick a little bit more in there. When I was a kid, my favorite thing to do was to mash things. She did mashed potatoes with this, and I'd like get in there and I'd push and push and push, and I just thought that was the greatest thing in the world. Well, now I'm a grandma with 2 grandkids, and I cannot wait to see if my grandson, who's 5, we'll see if he likes to do this, because I bet he would. If it requires making a mess or anything like that, yeah, he's all in. You see? Now, as soon as this strains a little bit more, I'll come back and I will show you another way of straining the juice. is another old-fashioned way. Doesn't involve a contraption at all. It just involves an everyday household item. And it's a little bit faster probably. I don't know. We'll see. Okay. So, here's another way of straining the juice from our cores and peels. Taken a pretty good sized pillowcase and we've draped it over my pot. You can see here. Okay. And I dampened the pillowcase a little bit. You don't have to, but I like to do that because, you know, if there's a slight bit of dust or whatever, it washes it out, hopefully. But this is a new pillowcase, so, you know, there shouldn't be a problem, but I still like to do it anyway. Let's turn the light back on. Okay, so, go ahead and fill this sucker up as much as possible. I mean, you know, I've seen videos of people doing this, and some fill it really full, and some don't fill it full at all. I guess it depends on how long you want to leave it to drain. If you got all kinds of time, then, you know, fill it pretty full. Okay. Got to be really careful because this can be pretty hot and it tends to splash. Let's take a peek how we're doing down there. See? Oops. See it? Yep, it's draining. Okay. So we just keep filling this. Excuse me. And I will be right back. I'll show you what to do next. Okay. And here we are with our pillowcase. And there it is. I don't know if you can see it very well. Stay on this side. It's hard to see. But there it is, draining into the pot. Let's get this a little bit. All it is, you can see I didn't fill it very full. It's hanging from my cabinet. And over here, we still have the cone colander, or whatever you want to call it. Just pressing. It's still coming out pretty good. I'll let that be for a little bit. And I don't know, I think I'll let this hang for about 30 minutes or so. Every once in a while I come up here and I just kind of give it a gentle squeeze. Not too hard. Because like I said before, you know, you don't want it to be too cloudy. Now some apples, it depends on your apple varieties. Pull this up just a little bit. Some apple varieties will be cloudier than others. Now if you're making jelly, just keep in mind that your apple varieties that have the red skins, your jelly is going to be a red tint. The darker the apple, the darker your jelly. No big deal. I think it's prettier that way. Shh. Excuse my dog in the background. Yeah, I think it makes it prettier that way. Now when I make my applesauce, which is where all these came from, I used about 5 or 6. I think this year we got 5 varieties of apples. Sometimes I get 6 or 7. I even used the harder apples. Those are just harder to cook down. Maybe some other day I'll do a video on making applesauce. But these peels and cores have been cooking, I don't know if I said it before, I think about 6 hours, maybe a little bit longer. I started it last night, and then we had to go to town and do some shopping, which is where I found that. So I put it on low, and then I left it that way. Well, technically, I guess it cooked a lot longer than that. Yeah, I had it on low. Actually, no, I think I turned it off when I went to bed. And then got up this morning and turned it on for another hour or so. So that's why it's cooked down so well. Some people say, well, just do it for an hour. I don't know. Everybody does things different. So that's what I did. And you can see the dripping is starting to slow down a little bit. But again, if we give it another gentle squeeze, just from the top, you don't want to, first of all, it's going to be hard, so if you squeeze down here, you know, unless you got super tough hands, you know, it's going to be hot, but you don't want to squeeze down there anyway. Just from the top, squeeze, it is hot. And just let it be for a while. So, there we are. 2 different methods of straining your apple peels and cores, or whatever it is you're needing to strain for juice. I know, we got those old-fashioned contraptions out there, not old-fashioned, the newer contraptions out there, the food mills, juicers, whatever. Forget that. First of all, my kitchen's way too small. I don't have room for those kind of things. So I just like the old-fashioned way of doing things anyway. Canning is an old-fashioned art. It's kind of going out of style, but if you look on Facebook, there are some canning groups, some great canning groups. Check out one called Canning. That's it, just Canning. Fabulous group. Great group of people, very nice. And yeah, check that out. So, thanks for watching. Have a good day. Bye.